121.
121.
Still here.
Still here, still talking, even though it's, for those who are listening, 2026.
Yeah. Still no couch. Maybe there will be a couch then.
I don't know.
Probably not.
There will be a couch.
Probably doesn't the any sense of necessity around a couch seems to have gone away for me. It might be neat, but there's no real urge to get it anymore. I say that. It might be kind of fun.
So
there's some novelty in it, on a new couch.
Novelty? Like,
yeah.
No couch to sit on, new couch to podcast in.
Same thing.
Oh. So topics instead of couches. I had a dream. How many was it? Like a week ago? Maybe 2 weeks ago.
Maybe two.
To where I've been like interfacing with beings on the other side, right? And in my dream, I'm like, oh wait, I'm interfacing with someone on the other side. So kind of like other side, whatever that is. And then in my mind, I thought, oh, they know a lot of things, right? And I'm like, oh, so I'm going to ask them some important questions. And in my mind, the most important question that I thought to ask them, wait, what did I write down what the question was? The exact wording of the question. But it was basically, what is the point of the universe?
It's a good question.
Yeah. And so the topic is that answer. And then everything that keeps us from it. And so then the answer that I got was, the point of the universe is to see how many experiences we can have with love. And I don't remember if it was with love or in love or into love or as love, maybe as love. How many experiences we can have as love. But, the with and in and as and through, to me, are interchangeable. They're all the same. But I do think it is important which one. So it's either with or as. I think it was an as.
Right. Maybe there's a subtle difference, but.
Yeah. And which, having been on the spiritual journey for a while, it's like a very, very obvious answer.
Right. No, when you told me that, I'm like, oh, that is the perfect answer. Like, that really kind of sums everything
very
up.
Short.
Very
short.
The
perfect
best,
answer.
Like in science and engineering, it's like the simplest, shortest solution or answer is the best one. And you can't get any simpler. There's no room to simplify that anymore, and there's no need to complexify that anymore. It's a perfect answer.
Yeah, it was that absolutely perfect. Well, and isn't there like a saying that like usually the simplest explanation is the truth?
I think so.
Yeah, and this was like just off the cuff.
Is that Occam's razor?
I don't know.
Is usually the simplest answer is the
I don't remember the
answer.
Exact wording. So that's the truth, right? The truth is just that, and it's just as simple as it gets. But then in my dream, I went, but there's. I started negotiating. I'm like, a lot of people have different opinions. And as I started saying this nonsense, I get this such an adamant, just the most adamant, not rude, but like very firm, don't even. And it was just like this, like, it wasn't a slap in the face, but it was very much verbal interpretation of it. Don't even. And I realized, look at that. I have the answer to probably, explanation behind everything, all existence, universe, And
you want to wiggle around.
And I want to wiggle around.
But what if?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what if I had a neighbor? Like, just hypothetically, I had this neighbor, and the property line and the
right. And so, and I think that was the lesson, is that we know the truth. I knew the truth. I mean, I know the truth. And yet here I am negotiating circumstances under which not all experiences can be as love, right? I'm literally trying to justify what I'm actively choosing, right?
Right.
And that's the conversation is I will say this because, Elon keeps on saying on all of the podcasts that he ever goes on, that the reason the consciousness needs to expand is so we will know the right questions to ask, right? From the hitchhikers, referencing the hitchhikers.
Yeah.
And I guess I think the only reason the consciousness is expanding is so we can have more tries at having it as love.
Right. No, I don't remember which came first. I think you said that first. And then we saw the interview, right?
Yeah, I had this dream right before. Well, but he keeps on saying this over and over.
But that is what when he said that is what I thought was that,
I had the dream before we saw the last interview.
He said that in response to a question about like population decline, why is it so bad if the population goes down instead of up? And I've thought that question before too. There's various geopolitical, economic reasons why people want it to go up instead of down. But his answer that, more consciousness is better than less consciousness. In the grand experiment that is planet Earth or humanity or the universe, more consciousness is better than less consciousness. And here's where I put your addition to that, because that gives us more opportunities to find love in the complex, well, in everything, but especially in the complex interactions amongst ourselves.
Yeah, well,
which is where I think it's the hardest to find.
Yeah, it's not to find. Right. I think they worded it very clearly. It's to have more experiences. So more consciousness equates to more experience, which means for us, every single experience we were to have or are to have would be as love. And then, in that retrospect, if you look back, how many of our experiences are justification of why we should close our heart and not have love present? And just think about like for myself, I was thinking, how much knowledge have I channeled or you and I talked about or I listened to, and how much reiterations do I have to see myself enabled to have experiences as love and have them be that pure consciousness, but pure consciousness, right, is love. Like the purity of consciousness at its essence is love. So propagation of love. And how many of them do I want to brand as something else? Right?
Right.
The truth is, all of it is love. How many of them do we want to position as not? Like we want to see, I want to see the world through lenses of nonsense.
Yeah.
And you name it. Like, oh, they're out to get me, or there's not enough, or, should be afraid of this, or this feels unsafe. All kinds of nonsense, as opposed to deep down, collapse all the nonsense into its true essence, which is consciousness or experience. And it's love.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we do. That's what we do best. We take this opportunity that we're given here on Earth, which is an opportunity to, if there is a goal in this game that we call life, it is to find love, be love.
But having experience.
Yeah.
The goal is to have an experience and then have that experience be love.
Yeah. But we just over and over again, like actively choose the opposite of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is, I don't know.
And
it's sad and funny at the same time.
Well, I mean, one, I think it's obviously by design and our own choice, right? Because the experience of, right, we have said this many times, but like the experience of its purest potential has unlimited wholeness in it, right? And so when we take on this identity of lesser than, then the lesser than by default has to be missing something. And, there it is. It's missing love, right? And so we're like, oh, missing wholeness. It's missing that je ne sais quoi that is like, I don't know, to begin with, we don't realize what it is. It's just like that pure vibratory consciousness of love. And so like we spent lifetime pretending like it's not there, searching for it. Half of the time, not even admitting to ourselves what is it that we're searching for.
That's the thing is, up until just, a couple years ago, I couldn't have told you what it is I'm looking for. I could tell you something's missing. And I would have told you that it's probably out there somewhere. But I couldn't tell you what it is other than I don't feel whole, happy, complete, peaceful. I would have used a whole lot of vague adjectives. But whatever it is, I don't have it, and it's out there somewhere. Maybe in the Himalayas. That's probably where they are, in a cave in the Himalayas. Some guru knows where it is. That's for sure.
In the lands of Shambhala.
Yeah. And only relatively recently do I understand, well, A, it's not missing. It's always been there. B, it's always been inside of me and inside of everybody. So you don't have to go out searching for it. You just kind of have to, I guess, if there is something to do, it's to uncover it because it's covered up with a whole bunch of poopy that we shovel onto it throughout our lives. You just have to learn that it is inside of you, rediscover it.
But like excuses of why not, right? Each experience that does not have the essence of love in it, in its true essence, holds an excuse of why it should not, right? Because it's basically the truth is the wholeness that is the entire universe. Like the universe is just wholeness, right?
Yeah.
You have something white on it, your nose all of a sudden. Yeah, right. The universe is like entire wholeness. And that entire wholeness propagates through the essence of just how we're designed, this unlimited love, just over-encompassing love. And in order for us to not have something, we have to pretend like it's not there. Not because it is not there, right? We have to pretend like it's not there. And the pretend is the choice in the belief system, the story that you have come here to experience as a human in order to have this extended experience into a lesser than.
Right. And the more we do that, the more believable it is and the more we get trained into that. Of course, the more that you operate in love, the more you would be, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. But you can pick which one do you want to do. And we've all picked the lesser than, and it just reaffirms itself over and over and over with every new experience. Just tints the lens a little bit more. So every new experience after that, it's just almost, you go in with the preconception of, well, of course, this is a world of lack. Look at all these previous examples. So there's just one more example that just propagates that forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you can go the other way, then I believe that you could, change the tint of your glasses and you would start seeing things as, I guess, abundance in this case. Or.
Yeah, but right, the bifurcation podcast that we had a couple of episodes ago is just referencing that. It is not a matter of abandoning duality. It is a choice in seeing the duality through like the conscious experience of love. Are you gonna make it?
Right. I guess I got up early.
Right. It's interesting because a couple weeks ago, or maybe I don't know when this happened, but I had this thought. I had the thought, but then, like, of course, with me, how many are thoughts and how many other things get crammed into my head? That we are, the universe is like at a point of its birth that is explosion, like explosive birth. And so like chime in because I won't be able to relate this into human terms. Right. And like you related to like, oh, the Big Bang, right? Like the Big Bang is the explosion. And like, I don't know why
She
this
moves the
even
whole
matters, but I'm saying this right now for somehow it pipes in that as life or consciousness explodes into reality, into perception, right? It's just one ginormous explosion, right? And what we are experiencing right now is this is really strange. So like, imagine if on Earth, like we took something and we exploded it, and then what?
got exploded.
Whatever. And then we had a camera that basically took the footage of the explosion or the event itself, right? The event of the explosion, and slowed it down to like infinity, right? So
Okay.
the explosion is technically happening, like the entire process of the video footage that it just slowed down. Let's say infinity, but for our intents and purposes, is infinity. But and us in a 3-dimensional form, right, is happening in that slowed down version of explosion, propagation.
Yeah.
And I use the word explosion, like that is the closest thing that I can say to describe the situation we're in. Right. But like there's no like beginning and then there's no end. When people say there's no beginning and there's no end, because everything that is happening is inside this slowed down interpretation that we in our 3-dimensional like interpretation call time and space, right? But in essence, a point before inception and a point after the explosion of inception, there's nothing, right? There's quite literally nothing. But because we're taking this energetic ride, it's like an energetic expansion. And then we interpret it through time and space. Then we're constantly moving through, more and more matter, more and more conscious interpretation of us.
Right. There's a lot of things there. I mean, it reminds me of the scientists say that the universe is expanding. And when they say expanding, that doesn't mean that things are moving away from each other. Some things may be moving away from each other. That may be true. But universe expanding means that like new space is being created in between. Like, imagine some really large ruler and you're just sticking extra inches into it.
Yeah.
Right. There's a bug at one end and there's a bug at the other end. They may be walking toward each other, away from each other, but the ruler itself is getting longer. And that doesn't mean that the inches are stretching. It's new inches are being inserted in, which I can't even wrap my head around how that makes no sense to me. But that is apparently how it works.
Mandelbrot, how does that? That's how it works.
Maybe, sort of.
Well, right, like as you zoom in onto what seems like this.
Yeah, but this isn't to zoom in. This is at the same scale. Just new stuff is being, not stuff, new space time
But visually, it can be interpreted as a Mandelbrot set, like a Mandelbrot zoom.
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
So it reminds me of that.
Mm-hmm.
It also reminds me of, I mean, I've thought a lot about time over my years and how weird it is that we experience time at all. And on the other hand, it's like how we've always experienced time. What would it even be like not to? That like almost doesn't even make sense. But our sense of time is so anchored to like our experience in our lifetime. It's like, a second is really short to us, and a year is pretty long, and 100 years, well, that's a lifetime. 100 years is a lifetime. Just round it to 100 years. But there's these different scales of time. A butterfly, lives what, 2 weeks to 4 weeks, something like that. And it's like, what would there do? To us, 4 weeks. That's you could have a 4-week vacation. It's so, well, it'd be nice. You could, but it's such a, that feels like a relatively short amount of time, especially for to be the entire lifetime of this creature. But I imagine their experience of a lifetime is closer to our experience of a lifetime than it is to our experience of 3 or 4 weeks. Somehow, I have no idea what that means. And a dog will live 10 years, which the dog's lifetime to the dog. We have this idea of dog years and stuff. So I believe that time is skewed relative to the entity and the creature, and we just happen to be built such that 100 years or so is a lifetime, and there's reasons for that, but whatever. But that's our experience. So the idea that it takes 10 million years to carve out the Grand Canyon is just, we can't even fathom that. 10 million years, what? It doesn't matter. It's just some crazy amount of time. Oh, the dinosaurs died out, 65 million years ago. It's an impossible time frame for us to comprehend. We've got numbers, and we can pretend that we understand what the numbers mean, but we cannot wrap our, the sun 4 billion years ago, or the universe 13 billion years ago. Although I've heard that number maybe changed according to scientists. We cannot comprehend time at that scale. We can only comprehend it in our own little scale. Where I was going with that is, all right, so take that. B, in computer games, the idea that there's the time, there's wall clock time, the time that actually ticks off, real seconds, quote, real seconds in our reality. And then there's time perceived in the computer in the game or the simulation, right? And I think a lot of people have this idea that they have to be like the same or close, and they don't. You can have a simulation, a weather simulation, for example, that's so complex that it takes hours to tick off 1 minute in the simulation. It takes hours of wall time to tick off 1 second in the simulation because it's modeling so many different variables and whatever. Or you could do the opposite, something that's so simple that, you could run through a year's worth of simulation in 5 minutes.
I mean, that's what we do with AI modeling.
Yeah, sort of. But the perception, if you were inside the simulation, you don't know. You don't know what it is. You're perceiving 1 second per second because that's literally how fast time moves. But outside of your experienced reality, how time moves at a different level could be faster, could be slower, could be the same. Maybe in some weird sense, time doesn't exist at all out there. I don't know. Some combination of those two things makes me feel like that time is somehow weird and maybe is like an artifact of consciousness somehow. So when you say, oh, it's both eternal and like infinitesimally small at the same time, it's like, yeah, it can be both, I think. Like eternity is like, we think eternity is just a really long time. No, eternity is like forever. And we can't wrap our heads around a long time. It's like, okay, I want to live a long time. You want what? You want to live 100 years, 1,000 years? You want to live 100 billion years? That sounds like a long time. That's, the sun, the sun has engulfed the earth. This is 100 billion years is just an insane amount of time, but that's nothing compared to eternity. I don't know. We're like not built to wrap our heads around these concepts somehow. So I don't know. What you were saying about time always reminds me of that. Maybe I just went completely off topic.
I love it. Yeah. The only reason we interpret time is to give ourselves a perception of a narrative.
I was going to say one more thing. Not related to time, but in the same way that space expands by injecting more space, that I think the consciousness can expand by injecting more love in a very similar type of mechanism.
Well, consciousness is love. Yes.
So it isn't necessarily that it's like, maybe you can, this is a weird analogy. You can add more love or something, maybe, but it's like new love is being injected all the time. It feels like. I don't know. It feels like there's a good analogy between those two things. Maybe I just can't word it right.
With us, because we start our life or we have a purpose of our life with a perception of not having something, which is wholeness or love, right? Like this expansive nature of self. Then the only thing that drives us forward, once we figure out that this is what's driving us forward, is connection to that essence, like connection to that essence, like that unlimited nature. Like if you want to say unlimited nature of yourself, the truth is like your unlimited nature is pure consciousness and your limited nature is pure love. So like if you are on the emotional scale of things and you want to interpret what is it that I'm looking for, and you would say, oh, I'm looking for love. Well, you're looking for that endless, like endless, infinite, all-encompassing love. But if you are on like logical and non-emotional scales and you're looking like what is it that I'm looking for? Oh, I'm looking for that like eternal knowing. But internal knowing is love.
Yeah.
Right? So like it doesn't matter if you're approaching it from the feminine standpoint or from the masculine standpoint. Both of the aspects of consciousness are looking for the same thing, which is expansion of your own understanding of wholeness. But the truth is, you're actually looking for wholeness. You're looking to you're not looking to understand wholeness. You're not looking to understand universe. You're looking to be universe. Because you are. Like,
it's almost like there's this like, yeah, it's like this semi-forgotten piece that we kind of remember. There's a little glimmer of it, and that just pulls us back to it.
Yeah, right. So like the quest to search, we think, is a quest to know something. And then we say, oh, once I know it, I will be whole because I will have more knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is, the quest to search is to know ... that you are wholeness. And then all of a sudden you're connected back into yourself. Does that make sense? And so like when you connect back into yourself as wholeness, there's no questions to ask because you've found what you're looking for.
Right.
And that's like, one, we forget that we're even looking for something. Two, once we realize that we're looking for something, we think that something is something. And it takes a long time to figure out that something is not an answer to unlimited number of questions, or not the right question to a known answer, but it is what we believe is unlimited potential or limited wholeness, right? And then once we start to touch the wholeness, you recognize that's me. Like the unlimited is me. And then you realize, oh no, I'm just searching for that connection to the universe that is me. And what I've been missing all along is not the right questions, is not the right mindset, is not the right Himalayan mountains, it's not the right, truck.
You're in the wrong Himalayan mountain.
Right.
It's that one over there. That one over there. It's higher.
Is that you don't realize what is it that you're looking for. When you realize that you're looking for that unlimited love that is wholeness, then you realize I'm just looking for myself. And then when you find yourself as whole, you are then experiencing the universe as love. And so,
right. That sums it up. But how do you do that?
But
what if you have this neighbor?
If there's two people and
that's all fine and good if you're living in a cave in the Himalayas. But now there's Bill at the office. I haven't talked about him in a while.
No, you talked about him a couple of episodes ago. I remember. I have a problem with Bill at the office, so I remember when Bill comes up.
Everybody has a problem with Bill at the office. That's the whole point.
Right, but the amount of consciousness that you would use in order to interpret Bill at the office is the problem within itself, right? The fact that there is even such thing as Bill and he's at the office and he's doing whatever the Bill at the office does is a choice in what level of consciousness you choose to operate in.
Right.
In order to interpret the existence of Bill.
Because there are, in the example in my mind, there would be people in the office who aren't bothered by Bill. Every time I've brought it up, it's like, Bill bothers you because he pokes your pain body in some way. And there's other people that he just does, it's just another dude at the office. It's what? I don't know. It's just, there's not a thing there. So it isn't something inherent in Bill is the point of the example. The problem that you have with Bill that's not Bill's problem. That's your problem.
Yeah. Yeah. But on the scale of consciousness expressing itself, right? Bill is unlimited universe expressing itself through the limited nature of belief that he's lesser than.
And your interaction with him is a, I don't know how to word it, cosmic event on purpose.
Yeah, but it's
to have this experience
is to see how many experience we can have as love.
Right.
And so if there is such thing as Bill at the office, then there is an opportunity for love.
Yeah. How do you meet that event?
Yeah.
With love instead of with, oh my God, did you see Bill today? He's wearing that sweater. Ah. I don't know. Try to come up with something as trivial as possible.
I had a specific sweater that came to mind, and I'm trying to remember who wore it. But it was like, You had so much going on.
Was it like an ugly Christmas sweater?
It wasn't Christmas, but it was just an ugly sweater. But it wasn't ugly. Like it was like
It was not worn ironically.
no. And I'm not even saying it was ugly. It had so much dimensionality to it because it had like your color green tones and then like brown tones and taupe tones and beige tones and black tones. And it was just like, like if you had a color swatch, a Pantone color swatch, it would just like kind of like a military, almost like a military. If you imagine military that operated in all points of the world, like like you're in the black sand desert and you're in the white sand desert and you're like in the pine forest and then you're in the jungle that is the light green and then do you know what I mean? Like if you had to like repurpose the entire entire earth into a military swatch, Pantone swatch. The sweater was that, and it was like woven in lines. And I'm like, who wore this? I don't know. Anyway, but like, think about this.
It certainly made an impression on you, the sweater.
Yeah. Well, because I thought if the goal is to have everything crammed into one space, right? It would be too much. Right? Like the recent article that I saw that like the reason why all home decor and everything is becoming like beige or light gray and we're just going away from all like high intense colors is because we feel overwhelmed in general, like stress overwhelmed. And then we want to concentrate on like the color, the iPhone screen or the phone screen has replaced the concentration point because the concentration point is where everything lives, right? The color lives. And so everything else needs to be backgrounded away because your primary form of interaction is your screen. And you're stressed, right? And so like everything needs to be neutral so that way you don't get overwhelmed by anything too much. But I thought if we came into this world with the entire color spectrum, like the entire Pantone swatch of all possibilities, and we had to sit there and stare at it that much, it would be too much, right? Like the possibility of everything at once, all at the same time, where it would be too much. So we have to come in and interpret a reality of lesser than, right? To where all of a sudden, oh no, I don't live in the world where there's all of these biomes. Now I live in the world where, it is a 4-season, deciduous trees. And then we go through, a leaf gain, leaf fall, oranges and greens. And, there's snow occasionally. And that is interpreted reality, right? That is the very small offshoot of entire wholeness that is the possibility.
I mean, let me know if I'm on the right track. It's like if it's just like a jigsaw puzzle. It's just on purpose overwhelming because it's like, where do you even start? And maybe that's kind of part of the fun of it. Or like, where's Waldo? You're like, everything looks the same. I don't know. But that's part of the fun of it.
Yeah, but the depth of experience is limited when there's too much and you cannot actually dive into any one exploratory nature of it. And
so it's like a Where's Waldo jigsaw puzzle. That would be awful.
The universe, right? The universe is the world of Waldo, right? I guess. But because it doesn't feel as intense to experience the whole thing as a brushstroke, we Meryl brought it in a one tiny little part of it, right? And we make sure that Waldo's somewhere down there, or at least want to pretend like he is. Right. And so the consciousness, right? Each one of us is an interpretation of that Mandelbrot into a very specific circumstances of reality under limited nature of X and Y and Z, believing X and Y and Z, living in X and Y and Z, has access to X, Y, and Z. Just think about any one person and their unique interpretation on consciousness in their unique way of being. Like, I don't know, right? Like, I will pick myself an example just because it's easy, right? There's probably not another person, period, that does, I'm talking about from the human standpoint of interpretation, that has an experience of growing up to circumstances of X, right, in the commie Ukraine, and then, leaving commie Ukraine, going into Kentucky, right? That just narrows down probably 99.999% of the population.
Yep.
Just someone from commie Ukraine who's a female moving to Louisville, Kentucky already shuts off majority of people that you know.
Yeah.
And then after that, you start going to like, okay, well, only child, parent to engineers, or a child to engineers, right? Parent to engineers, that's probably on purpose. Right. Like, married to an American, has 2 kids, has 2 cats and a dog. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does marketing for living. Do you know what I mean? Like, by the time you narrow down these very simple things, just a physical interpretation or experiential interpretation of myself as Tanya on Earth, right? There's no one. There's quite literally at the end, there's Waldo, and Waldo is me. At the end of this Mandelbrot set, I found myself, right?
Yeah.
But I was there right from the beginning.
It's
right?
like that. What's that game that they play where you have all the people and you flip them down? Who has the hat and who?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guess who?
Guess who? Yeah.
Yeah. Right. But
yeah, the fact that every one of us can be guess who down to an individual person with probably 10 less than 10 well designed questions. And yours, where you grew up and where you moved to, that knocks down 90% of the world easily. 95, no, more than that, 99 and some change. Mine would be a little trickier to do, but yeah. Boring. Kentucky, still losing Kentucky. That's a lot. A lot of people to knock down. That's amazing. That talks about how unique all of our experiences are.
But that tells you that is the expansion of consciousness that is necessary for delivering into the universe experience as love, right? Or through love, or with love, or do you see what I mean?
Yeah, right. And there's just more and more and more of those being created all the time.
Beings being created.
Beings being created and experiences being experienced. Your questions, your guess who questions. Every day, there's more questions that you and you alone get to say yes and no to.
Yeah, but if each expansion of consciousness ends up recognizing itself as love, right? At the end, that's what happens, right? Or to begin with, prior to that awareness, you choose to deliver more inserted love into the consciousness, right? Think about the energy potential as that, right? The energy potential for expansion. If you complete your task, I guess. Which is weird to say, right? Like, somebody's life from birth to death looked at as a task of completing, will you be conscious in your life's effort to see things as love, or to deliver things as love, or to experience your life as love? Because that's what it narrows down to, right? Most people on their deathbed, right, step back and they go, oh well, I wish I spent more time with family, which is love. Or, I wish I saw more sunsets, which is peace, and you could see love in the sunset. Right?
Yeah. No.
Or I wish, right? So
nobody's going, oh, I wish I'd worked more. I wish I'd made more money. Nobody's dying with those wishes.
Yeah. I wish I'd traveled more, which is experience, right? So in the long run, I think what we do is we tally up our experiences as like, to begin with, we think that the experiences are there to offset the shadow, right? The trauma. Like, oh, I have to work so I don't drown in debt, right? Or I have to work so I have food to feed my children. And there's all these things. But the truth is, the shadow is there as a facilitator for the set of experience that you will choose to have based on your perception of the need to have them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so, our set of experiences as a cumulative family unit is there based on, to begin with, my pain body, right, as a driving factor, but then also your pain body. And those experiences are just bouncing off of each other, because to begin with, we think that is what needs to happen in order for us to, in my case, to begin with, not short circuit out, right?
Right.
To stay sane.
Yeah, to coexist.
To just exist.
Yeah, to exist. Yeah, sure.
Right. Yeah. The cool part doesn't even come in if you're struggling to even exist yourself. Yeah. But everything narrows down to that, is your experience will be perceived limited, and you could say that it's through the shadow, but it's really through the choice of the belief system that you come here to live. And then based on that chosen limitation, right? Because you're separate from wholeness, therefore you're out there searching for something, and that something is to undo the limited nature of this interpretation. And then you'll spend your lifetime pretending like things matter, and this is important, and that's important, and I should be doing this instead of that, and then like, oh, if I don't do this, there's peril.
I think if there's ever a should in there, that's a red flag that there's an opportunity to reevaluate something. Just side note.
Yeah, but the shadow drives the shoulds.
Shadow drives the shoulds.
Right. But the continuous cycle of that experience not being perceived as wholeness, right? Through the being perceived as limited nature of reality, like, oh, I'm somehow in lesser than, is kind of like one of those switches, I don't know, there's a switch that does this. That
like on a railroad? Like on a railroad?
Yeah, sure, but I don't know, I'm seeing some sort of circuit board and it just does that. But yeah, I guess a railroad. Right, and you can choose for every experience as love or as less than, right? The opposite of love is less than. There's no such thing as anything other than whole love. And then each experience can be seen as whole love or less than. And so you can just kind of choose the on and off of that. Is this experience what it actually is, which is love? But then obviously I myself would say, having been in many positions where I'm even arguing with the people who give me the answers. Oh, but what if, yeah, right. But that's the choice. It's either whole love or I'm being an idiot and I'm arguing with the universe.
Right. And sometimes it's just so hard because those details seem so real and important. And how could you not deal with, whatever the well, yeah, but this case is different because no, it's not.
Yeah, but if the shadow is there to perceive a limited nature of reality, and you're not seeing that you're choosing a limited nature of reality, then you like how would you be able to choose this path to be on as wholeness as opposed to lesser than?
Right. There's the option is not even apparent to you.
Yeah. And it's interesting because knowing this still does not.
That's the thing. Both of us know this, and we still probably every day,
all the time, choose
continue to
function lesser than.
Yeah.
And knowing this, right?
Oh yeah.
Knowing this, you're still
lost to it.
Or lost to it, or right, like it's. I will use this, and people get upset when I say this, but you're still choosing to experience a lesser nature of reality.
Right.
And I say that knowing well that is also what I do, right? I can approach a situation and I can see the expansive nature, right, between my opinion and somebody else's opinion, right? And I can see how there's this nuance and there's this whole network of possibilities. But then you can come in and you can choose your own adventure in that situation, right? And we can choose our own adventure to be experience of less than, or we can, turn the switch on to, if this is an expression of love, if this is consciousness presenting itself for the fulfillment of its true nature, how would that look? Right?
I mean, if you can ask yourself that, periodically, get that tattooed on your hand.
Well, here's wholeness, right? If you imagine wholeness, and then if you imagine your particular life as an expression of lesser than, there's a very direct line from wholeness to your interpretation thereof. And then in reality is when you recognize the potentiality of wholeness within any one expressions, then back into wholeness, right? So you're just building this huge circuit. You're expanding reality. The explosion is you. The explosion of everything is you, right? The propagation, like imagine how much stuff happens when things explode. Like how many direction everything goes, and the shrapnel and the smoke and the fumes and the radiation and the whatever. Do you know what I mean? The kinetic energy that bursts out is the potentiality of things to be seen as wholeness or not. And then the goal is as wholeness, right? So it's.
You said the goal is as wholeness, but it sounded like the goal is as wholeness.
As wholeness?
As wholeness.
Oh, as wholeness. Yeah. Well.
I don't know. Maybe sometimes that's what it looks like.
As wholeness?
To other people.
Do you mean an asshole?
Maybe.
As opposed to as whole?
Maybe sometimes they look the same. If they're really in the thick of it and you're just not, maybe that's how they would perceive your reaction.
Do you care?
But do you care? But that's part of being an asshole is, do you care?
It's that's a whole subject of what doesn't matter. Everybody, you by default cannot understand somebody else's experience of wholeness or less thereof, or as wholeness, or chose into something different.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are not that expression of reality. To draw your judgments or conclusions about anybody else's anything would be like quite literally impossible.
Right. The best you can do is project your own stuff onto them and try to interpret it from that. But even that, it's
But that's just
horribly
you
flawed.
projecting your shadow
Yeah.
onto somebody else's story.
It's horribly flawed and not accurate at all.
Right. So, we participate in all of these scenarios of lesser than, and we have all of these justifications. The shadow has expanded our consciousness to justify seeing things as lesser than, right? And sometimes we want to get involved, sometimes we want to judge, sometimes we I don't know, whatever it is, right? But like, it is difficult to step back and then hold responsibility for yourself. That's what I have a hard time doing. Right? If I'm going to go into the world and I'm going to continue on the lesser than, I don't recognize that I'm responsible for the world that has lesser than.
Right. Because it seems so external. It seems so.
It seems like I'm reacting to a lesser than. So therefore, surely I'm not in charge of creating the lesser than. The lesser than is already in the world. And look I'm just a victim to the lesser than.
Yes.
That is, that is where the blindness gets us.
Yeah.
We get blind to we surrender our sovereignty to the outcome outside. And then, no, I'm just a victim here and I'm just reacting to this outcome.
Yeah.
And if you think you're the victim and you're just reacting to somebody else's idiocy or assholeness, then you lose the conscious interpretation of your power. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what it is, right? Separating from wholeness is to lose the conscious interpretation of your power. You become unaware that you are the responsible party for the circumstances.
Right.
And so then if you're not responsible, if you branded yourself not responsible, then no, I'm just defending myself. Or no, I'm just acting in response to quid pro quo or whatever. And then there's all kinds of story, but all of it is shadow, right? It comes out of a shadow and then the stories flow out and it's endless. It's quite literally endless. If you want to be in that game, it will never end. But, the easiest way is to pause and to go, if my goal here, if you believe your goal is here, to experience the universe as love, then does the action that I'm getting ready to take equate to that? And here's the key. You don't have to know what action equates to that. You just have to pause the action that you were getting ready to take that is not that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand that for a long time.
Right. Because sometimes it may not be obvious what action is the right action.
Yeah.
But it is usually pretty obvious if the action is going to be the wrong action. And there's a whole lot of wrong actions, and there's probably fewer right actions. There may not be a right action in some situations. Maybe no action is the right action.
With me, it's interesting because my shadow used perception of control as coping mechanism.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Action right away equated to control, equated to safety. And so like that following the gut right away, which is shadow, just following the safety mechanism.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't even say gut. It's like
it's the shadow gut.
It's shadow gut, sure.
It's the it's the I'm lesser than.
In as much as the gut seems to have a good idea what to do. You have a good feeling, and this is just a snap reaction. What you're talking about?
No. It's, in this case, it's gut reaction to the perception of unsafety. The gut is still there reacting to the perception of unsafety. But it's the off-the-cuff reaction that is still a gut reaction. My gut has been programmed to behave like an idiot. That's what sometimes we don't understand when people say, oh, just follow your gut reaction. Sometimes your gut is an idiot. My gut has been an idiot for quite some time.
Yeah. No, what lately there's been this like, if I get triggered by something, it is more apparent to me, okay, wait a minute, just don't do anything. Don't, because whatever you're going to do is probably the wrong thing. Just don't do anything. Feel it. You can think it through in a minute, but don't think it through yet. Feel it. And then, okay, after you felt it, and it's, because it will have dissipated after you feel it. And then you can think it through, and that'll, anything left, that'll dissipate that. Now you can make an actual, thinky brain response that isn't gonna, yeah, well, screw you too, or whatever, because that is the gut reaction. Is, my ego's been hurt. I've been threatened in some way. This is unsafe. This is, this reminds me of whatever in childhood. It's all those things and more. And our reaction is just, put up a wall, put up a shield, fight back, strike first.
Yeah.
And when the thing may not have even been a strike in the first place. It was just whatever it was, a phone call or an email or someone on the street, whatever. It may be an aggressive thing. It may be just a normal thing that we are perceiving as aggressive for, because of our history, because of our pain bodies, because of some culture difference, there's any number of reasons why it could just be an innocent thing. And, we just want to blow it up into some sort of.
Yeah. Well, those gut reactions are there as self-protection mechanisms, right? But very rarely they're heart reactions, right? They're not. The heart is closed, and you're just protecting yourself.
Right. It's a wall, a moat.
Yeah. Build a moat around yourself. Right. We had a conversation with our son a couple of days ago about this. And it's like, right, whatever your filter of reality happens to be, whatever your lesser than unsafety triggers are, like they propagate gut ingrained reactions. Like, oh, look, I feel bad, but I'm just going to numb it off. But in each one of those scenarios where you feel and you numb, or you feel and you disregard, or you feel and you feel hurt, and then you just move on and you don't address the system, each one of those is like a tiny little close of a heart, right? Your heart just shrivels and shrivels and shrivels and shrivels, right?
And a reinforcement of the neural pathways that caused you to do that in the first place. Both.
Well, yeah, but it's gut being threatened, and then the threat is, oh, I can take this energy that I feel that is threat, I can actualize it, I can draw awareness to it, I can become conscious of this experience, right? And let it flow up the heart. But we're like, no, I don't want to feel this. And in order not to feel it, you have to blockade it from flowing into your heart, right? You have to go, no, it's not going to go there, because then that's really going to hurt. Second it gets to the heart, then guess what? All of those little things that I'm afraid of are actually true, because I'm feeling it. And so, your gut gets triggered into the whatever shadow flavor of unsafety you happen to have. And then your control system suppresses it from recognition. One, recognition, but two, feeling. It's both, kind of. And so then your heart just basically blockades itself into conceal, don't feel. There's no such thing as love, right? And that, that's the story. That's the story of the lesser than that I'm discussing. That then gets propagated as truth, and then we behave out of that perception of lack of wholeness, perception of lack of love. But the only thing that we're looking for is that lack of love that we perceive, where we closed our heart. Like, we don't understand that, oh shit, when I chose to close my heart as a child so I would protect myself and to continue to exist on earth, I'm looking back for that heart. No amount of adult doing will fix the broken heart or the wholeness that I'm looking in, right? That is actually myself in the wholeness of an open heart.
I mean, that's true. You're because you're trying to find things and do things and use things to fix a problem that, on one hand, doesn't actually exist. It's a manufactured problem.
Yeah.
And so the solution is to stop manufacturing the problem. The solution is not, react this way or, do this thing or go make more money or whatever. Those sound like they'll do it. They feel like they'll do it. You actually achieve that, you're no better off. But the only way out of that is to realize that they are manufactured problems that we have come up with ourselves in order to, on one hand, make life more interesting.
It feels visceral.
It feels visceral. But on the other hand, we can realize, okay, well, that was fun. That was an experience. I learned a lot. But now I'm ready to let that go and move on.
Yeah, letting go and move on is like as if it's some sort of goal. There's no letting go and moving on. It's just like a choice into what you put forward, right?
What's the difference? Like I guess I see it as kind of the same thing. Like if you've been living through a lesser than mindset and you you realize it and you're like, oh my gosh, look at this, look how I've been doing it, and maybe even look here's where it came from in childhood and all that stuff. And like, okay, I see it. You can almost complete. You have the opportunity to complete the cycle and close that loop. And I guess that's what I mean by like let it go. You don't have to keep. You can make the active choice instead of making the choice to keep doing that. You can make the choice to not be in a lesser than state, mindset, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, but once again, like you saying it, make a choice. It's you recognize that you took those experiences and perceived them through less than wholeness.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to no, the experience itself is wholeness itself.
Right.
It
is a perception shift.
Right.
Yeah.
You could still participate in the same experience, but
yeah. No, I'm not saying that even that your day-to-day circumstances will necessarily change. It's not that. It is completely how you perceive the events, the interactions, the storyline of your life. They're twins that grow up, or brothers or sisters, siblings that grow up together with objectively the exact same life, right? They're growing up in the same household, same parents, same school system, maybe same grade. It's right. It's, as far as a controlled experiment, it's pretty good. But eventually they diverge. Quickly they diverge. And I would expect this because they develop different viewpoints, lenses to view the world. One will end up being more outgoing and one will be more reserved. For all the twins that I've ever met, one ends up being very, outgoing and extroverted, and one is very reserved. And, for whatever reason, each one believes that is the safest way to behave through, right? Largely the same experiences, but they have a lens for it. We all have a lens for oh, in this case, I do something. In this case, I don't do something. In this case, I need to work harder, make money, whatever.
With the lens is, how is this experience lesser than wholeness? And maybe like if you take endless number of experiences and you go, okay, well, what's the question that I can ask to step myself out of the, rut that I'm in or whatever, is how am I inserting this experience to be perceived as lesser than wholeness? And that's the shadow, right? The shadow is that your personalized filter of insertion that makes this experience lesser than wholeness. Somebody's an enemy and you're the resistance, right? Or you're the victim and you got to do something. In my case, control something in order to
Protect yourself.
offset the potential damage of the situation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There's the question. How do I see this as less than wholeness?
Yeah. I mean, I think that one's pretty easy. Like it's easy to summarize entire existence into that question.
Right.
Right. But like, it's interesting because like I say that, but like, would we be able to ask that question if we even the idea of wholeness is not even on the radar, right?
Right. No,
And I think that's what it comes down
when
to.
you're triggered, how is this less than wholeness? Let me count the ways. I will tell you how it's less than wholeness.
Well, because the idea of wholeness doesn't even exist. Like
Right.
quite literally, wholeness is not even a concept. The experience in three-dimensional Earth and with time and space is so visceral that the idea of wholeness actually
Right.
doesn't even exist. So when we,
No,
when Elon says, "Oh, we don't even know what questions to ask," it is because we don't even realize that what we're looking for, right?
mm-hmm.
Is wholeness, is expansion of conscious love, is experience universe, experiencing itself as love. Like we're so far deep in our shadow that we don't even recognize that is what we're looking for. And like I would wager to say we're not looking for anything other than that ever. Like recognizing like patterns of operation, right? Regardless of our technological development and regardless of our perception of time and space, each experience that exists out there is somehow perceived in its separation from wholeness. And everyone's goal is to somehow get that feeling back, somehow get back to more wholeness. Not recognizing that it's not an action towards something. It is a uncovering of the definitions of not, which is such a, I almost feel like it is a purposeful trick by the designed consciousness
Mm-hmm.
to not see that minute difference.
Yeah. I mean, that's the human condition.
I would say it's conditioned for many races, right? The pursuit of something gets lost in its idea, and we forget to see it as the process of removing the filter of not, which is diabolical to me in a way, right? Like to understand it is one thing, but to like live it is this whole other thing. Most people won't even get to the point of understanding that is what they're looking for. And then two, most people never get to the point of understanding that it's not a search for something. It is the search to remove the not.
Yeah.
And then even if you understand that, most people won't get to the point where you are able to remove the not.
Yeah. Especially in the thick of it.
Well, I don't know how. Do you
Like,
even understand the
it's
concept of
like,
existing? I don't know.
we're
if you're-
sitting here talking about it, and it's like, we're sitting in the comfy house with the cacao. It's theoretically, it all makes sense. But, either one of us could get a phone call right now that would snap us right out of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, because the visceral experience of the shadow is preferred to the wholeness.
Preferred.
I think that's the truth. We prefer it. The reason why we don't surrender into something that is extremely simple, because we prefer the otherwise.
Why do you think we prefer it?
Because it's visceral. Like, right? Why do people prefer orgasming versus having sex and walking away without an orgasm? Because it's a visceral ending, as opposed to, yeah, that was nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, we crave the intensity. I think.
Like, I can see like all the like adrenaline junkie type thing, bungee jumping and whatever. Those are like the easy examples. But like
Life.
But like,
life is that.
the intensity, I guess, good and bad.
Well,
getting fired, that's intense. Maybe in a bad way, but it's intense.
No, but I would say we prefer the bad.
Why?
Because it is intense. It makes you viscerally alive. It makes you feel alive. More so than
The good?
recognition of wholeness. The idea of recognition of wholeness. No, I will ... The truth is, the second you pipe into the wholeness and you feel the wholeness, it makes you more alive than anything that has ever existed, period. Right? The amount of energy and the wholeness you feel once you are in tune with the wholeness is, everlasting, and it's unlimited, and it's almost too much for the system at times. But those are in control by us, right? We think we're controlling the intensity and the visceralness and the feeling of aliveness. So we're not surrendered into the system. We're controlling it. And we pretend like this is happening to us. And we pretend like this is bad and we don't want it. But deep down, all of it is actually, a delicate experience into lesser than that we are in charge of. Which I know a lot of people have a problem with those statements. Right? Because deep down, if we said, 10 people next to us and we said, well, that last time that you had that terrible experience and whatever, you were upset for days or weeks or whatever, would you want that? Did you, and then they would say, no, I would never want that. And I say, well, do you think you selected that? And they will be appalled by the fact that they're somehow responsible for it.
Yeah.
But I guess easy way out. Why did you choose to see that experience as less than wholeness? Right? Or what in your line of life happened that led you into a perception of less than wholeness? And I don't know if it is answerable if you're drowning. Like if you're swimming in the deep and you're drowning and you don't even see that there's such thing as sky. If right, like depending on where you are on the human scale of interpretation, it would be extremely triggering to even think this.
Yeah. No, it was triggering because I think I was in it the first time you said that to me, and I balked at the idea of that.
Yeah, I had someone. I don't remember what podcast episode. I had someone make a comment on the episode about like sexual abuse victims, how they are. It was basically like that. I was implying that the sexual abuse victims chose the sexual abuse, right? Or something like that. It was just basically they had a problem with the choice, right? And it's like, right, when you're drowning as a victim of any kind, sexual abuse or whatever, it doesn't matter. It is impossible to see anything as love. Like the heart is closed so much that what do you mean there's such thing as love? What do you mean there's such thing as human kindness? What do you mean there's such thing as trust? Right? Like trusting another human being is not even an option, much less loving them, much less anything, right? Do you know what I mean? So if you're that deep down in trauma, like, heck, at some point, walking outside is not even an option. Getting out of bed is not even an option. Eating is not even an option. Do you see what I mean? Like, so there's all kinds of scales. And if you're deep, right, like another day is not even an option. And so like, yeah, like me talking about opening heart to someone who is an abuser, or you perceive them to be an abuser, right? Or what was the in the triangulation, an enemy, right?
Empire.
Yeah, enemy or the empire. What the fuck? That's not even right. That's not even a concept. Do you know what I mean? The concept of recognizing another human being as not threat is the primary regulatory like objective of the nervous system.
Right. No,
So
I mean,
it's
that's it. That's like the whole point of the limbic system in the brain is find everything that can be dangerous and make it very apparent to your awareness.
Yeah, but
that might fall over. That might catch on fire.
But in that,
he looks scary. Oh, is that a wolf? No, it's a dog. But it still might bite. Whatever it is.
But in that sense, right, when you're that deep in unrecognition of wholeness, we're not even on the same page. We're like, we're not even in the same book. We're not even in the same story or category of literature. Like you're over there in your world of documentaries and I'm over there in Magic La La Land. Like there's no crossover. Right. So, but I say that knowing that I go into the documentaries, right? And I'm drowning in a documentary. And I think that documentary is a real story of I. That is the identity of I'm the victim. I've been abused. There's somebody out there and they're a bad guy and I can't trust the world and I have to control everything about everything in order not to be a victim again. Been there most of my life.
And in fact, it's at some level, it's fun to control it.
Yeah. That's
right.
That's the whole point is
right.
I want to be the victim.
Not only does the control make me feel safe, but it is the process of controlling is in and of itself fun at some level.
It's visceral, and you're in charge.
Yeah.
Right. But that's appalling to say to someone who's been an abusive victim. Right. Right. But that's where I was. There's a visceral experience, and you feel like you're in control if you have branded and labeled everything that is threatening, and you have branded and labeled the world under this lens, and as long as everything stays this way, I can control the circumstances. I can take the self-defense classes, right? I can carry pepper spray. I cannot get close to men. I will not go into dark alleys at night. I will not trust anybody. That's my flavor, right? And that's it. That is safe.
Yeah.
And that is actually preferred. I say that from my experience, it is preferred because there's no unknowns. There's no flaming question marks of what the fuck is going to happen the second this system breaks down.
Mm-hmm.
And any argument to keep the system in place is a fear of justification of letting go of this design set of perceived control that you think keeps you safe.
And we're so heavily invested in it. We've spent our whole life building and crafting and perfecting and investing into this system to keep ourselves safe. That, I don't know I want to throw that away. It's worked really well. Look, I'm still alive. There's proof that it works.
Yeah, the world has been labeled, it has been identified, and you are having just enough of a limited set of experiences that you can wake up at night or wake up during the day, go to sleep at night, and not flip the fuck out about all the unknowns of the universe.
Yeah.
But hence, my point is, if the universe was limitless and you had unlimited number of expressions, you would be brushstroking your way through a reality. And you wouldn't have a limited set of experiences that are so visceral. But at the same time, you felt like controllable. So that's the balance that most of us strike. It has to be visceral enough, right? Real, right? The life has to be real. But at the same time, you have to have this perception of control.
Right.
And that's like the magic formula that we choose to live the life at. It's visceral, it's uncomfortable just enough, but the perception of control is just there. Go, you know what? Yeah, I say it's uncomfortable, and I know every once in a while there's a little bloop here and there, but then I'll just like relabel things in order to control the circumstance.
Right. You've just described a game, of course. I mean, you've described like whether that's a video game or a board game or whatever. It's challenging. Sometimes things go good. Sometimes things go bad. There's usually a bad guy or some sort of enemy or something you're against. It's literally a game.
But that's what it is.
Yeah.
The perception of anything less than wholeness is a game.
There's some threat. You gotta, prepare or outsmart or whatever. It doesn't matter if it's Sudoku or if it's, the Settlers of Catan. It's, or, whatever, video games. It doesn't matter. It's that's what it is. It's just a game.
Yeah.
But when you can see, the practical difference here is that most people don't realize that life is this game. It's easy to go, with a board game, okay, it's all fun.
No. I would wager to say all of us deep down know it's a game. And if somebody tells you it's a game, then the real visceral observation there by you and by the person who's telling you is, why are you choosing to play the game the way you're playing? And that puts responsibility on you. And nobody wants to be responsible. Yeah.
Because when you're playing a game, when you're playing a 3D board game or whatever, it's easy to see that it's a game. It's like, well, I'm not going to go punch the guy in the face because he rolled a 6 and I rolled a 4. That's not something that doesn't even cross your mind to do. But in real life, well, yeah, maybe I will. Because that feels like the right reaction. It's bizarre.
Because it's visceral and the stakes are higher.
They feel higher, yeah.
Well, no, because you came here for an experience. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you just, at some point, decided your experience to be all of these things and not the wholeness of the universe expressing itself as love. But like, again, to say that to somebody who is in a documentary while you're over there in La La Land, they don't connect.
Yeah.
Like, you can't compute responsibility. You just perceive the person who's telling you something that you don't like as an enemy.
Right. No, they're a bad guy too.
Yeah.
One more unsafe person in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. But the truth is, we will find everyone threatening that is trying to unravel our story of nonsense.
Right. I mean, that's why the jester was an important part of the medieval court, was because that's the one person who could say something and it wouldn't be taken as a threatening message. But we hear a message and it's threatening. Kill the messenger. Wait, where are the messengers? Damn it.
No, I was just saying, I'm like, how did this whole thing get started for me? Plato's cave allegory, right?
Mm-hmm.
The messenger ends up getting killed. I guess the reality, as you climbing out of the cave and seeing the truth for the first time. And damn, that's scary.
Sure is bright out there.
Yeah. Well, you have to do work. So nobody wants to do the work. Yep.
Yep.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.